Okay, good evening. So this will be a microscopy video. I've taken 4 samples from the containers. Before I merged the containers, the content into the one. It's not all the containers, but 3 of them and half of another for a 4th one into this metal container. Let's see. By the way, if the chimney is still hot. So it looks almost like it's done. Yeah, no, it's still on fire. Yes. So actually, I must say, surprisingly long because I'm using a very, small charcoals that are made for hookah, and they shouldn't last for long. There is not much in there, maybe 10 of these, I guess, no more than that. And actually, it lasts 4 hours, and it's going to be really interesting to see the results. What kind of mixture will be there after such a long burn. Would we see life forms, neros, etc., etc. Regarding the samples, I haven't watched it. I will watch it together for the first time. I will say that initially, after I created the containers, which I call the aquarium, after 6 weeks that it waited, not in airtight environment actually, like in a big bowl. We've seen amazing stuff, like huge life forms and several of the most amazing videos in this channel were taken from this container. It was really, huge sausage, creatures and huge octopus, colossal squids, life forms that are based on certainly on microbial life forms that are known, but on huge scale, so big that some of those were actually I was able to watch it in the naked eye. And this is terrifying. Very small one, but in the microscope, it looks huge, and it's actually like a quarter, centimeter or half centimeter, but something that you couldn't see in the naked eye. And I would say that. So and then I separated the aquarium to several containers and placed all sorts of stuff in there, different stuff. But what I've done with some of the containers is that I completely blocked oxygen. I put it in the inner container, wrapped in nylon, and what was demonstrated after several weeks in another microscopic test is that many life forms actually they died, but not all of it. So and also it was evident that a lot of pressure was built. Some pressure was built inside it, because when I opened the container, there was boom, so maybe probably gases were that were accumulated there and released. So I learned from that that at least some of these life forms require, not all, because evidently they were not all dead after several weeks, and there weren't that much air in it. It was almost filled to the brim. But it's evident that not all of these life forms actually require oxygen, but at least some do. And if I want the most vibrant ecosystem, it's better not to put it in airtight containers, even though the neros are fine with without oxygen. They might need it in order to build stuff, but it's a construction material, not for their own survival. So what I've done is that I kept these kind of containers not completely airtight, the lid is not completely screwed. And one of the facts that he had is that this room smells like shit now. Because it's not the only reason. I deal with all sorts of this is kind of both my dinner table, my dining table, and where I sleep, and where I do everything, and research and everything, and burn thing in the crucible, all in this room. So it's, but some of the disgusting smell was because of this essentially open containers. So I decided to stop to merge the quality of at least some of them back, and to add oil and wax and honey wax, because it was demonstrated that it's good for these synthetic life forms, and also to keep it in a metallic airtight container, with the knowledge that it will kill the aerobic life forms, but I'm willing to live with it. and because I can't stand the smell. It should be said that in any case, it was demonstrated in this channel before that the news can actually, we can use electrolysis chamber, maybe although the crucible, but this is new issue. But I mean, it's much easier to use the electrolysis chamber for specific commands because it's much easier to use, I mean, the symbolic language and the symbolic like material in a way that will be like, I mean, effective. And I'm still new with how to do it like in the fire pit, like in the crucible. So, but anyway, so this is one of the advantages of the electrolysis method over the crucible is that I mean it's easier like to use the symbolic language, even though it should be said that even with this method it's not trivial at all, because many times the symbolic like aspect of the construction is in conflict with like engineering or like other technical constraints or limitations. Anyway, you can use the electrolysis method in order to tell the neurons specifically to enlarge the life forms, and like so, and using this like method, we've created like huge non-microscopic worms and all sorts of like, I mean, slugs. That were amazing, like even up to 8 centimeters. And this was so amazing, but I stopped like this kind of like research path because I don't have any, like I'm not equipped currently, and like in order to deal with big like animals, you need the place, like you need like a real laboratory and equipment, and to create and terrariums, and like I mean temperature control. I mean I am not equipped to I'm barely equipped to deal with germs here, but I mean certainly not with like very big life forms. I mean it's amazing to see the insects. I mean I'll be glad if we have more samples from the crucible, like to watch the demonic insects, and I know that it stirs a lot of like excitement and in many of the viewers, and maybe you want to see more of these demonic insects, especially since as I understand, these kind of like at least one of the insects is kind of like the whole like I mean the way that the bone structure is kind of like completely alien, which is amazing. I mean, not only the proportion between like the parts of the skeleton, but I mean the skeleton structure is alien, which is amazing. But I'm not equipped. Like I mean, I don't have like the conditions like to grow like really large life forms. Like I mean, in 8 centimeters or even like 2 centimeters, it's too big like for me because you need a terrarium. Like you need some, and you need equipment and food, and I mean, and I can't do it in this tiny room. So, but it's possible. So I mean, if I wanted like I mean specifically to like to create more life forms, it's kind of like it's a way to do it. So anyway, let's watch like what was in these containers. I have no idea. So, but we have three slides from like the waters and one from the sediment in the bottom, which is mostly sand, mostly sand, like wet sand, and perhaps a little bit of clay. So let's start. So this one is from the water. Okay. What a nice Neo. Wow, very nice. Let's zoom into it. Yeah, really nice one. Let's even do, these ones are with, I mean, the three that from the water are with covers, so we can zoom in more. The one for the sediment is without cover. So we can use the maximum zoom. Where is he? Ah, we find like smaller ones here. Nice, interesting. Neros come in all size, you know. I don't know how small they can be. Maybe my assumption is that they can be as small as like in the nanoscopic level. That's why I call it like nanobots from time to time. But I don't have a proof for that. And in order to have a proof, I'll probably need an electron microscope. Of course, watching these mixtures under electron microscope could be amazing. But I mean, I don't have one. Okay, so let's get this is about like 600. Let's go back to 64. Okay. We don't see life forms. We see Neos, but we don't really see life forms. Interesting. What a big Neo and a beautiful one. Okay, so that's certainly a life form here, kind of like a snake. Let's zoom in. Yep. So it's kind of like a snake. Maybe we'll zoom in even more. Yes, this is the one. This is a snake. Okay, interesting. There's many things here that look like geometric, like blocks. So it should be said that it's. I mean, this is what it is. I mean, the Neros are mining stuff from like all sort of like materials that inside the container, like relatively hard material, and they and you can see these blocks, and this can be, I mean, evident in many future like previous videos. Sometimes you can even see millions of these blocks when they had like a huge mining operation. Maybe I will search for this video and will rewatch it because it's very, very interesting, from about 2 months ago. But certainly they do it. It was demonstrated, I mean, even just from the start, that they do it very well with the sellotape, because initially I didn't use glass covers for the slides. I've used like sellotape, like thin ducted, it's called sellotape, like as a cover for the slides, and they were mining the sellotape and creating like blocks from it. And they used it for their construction project. This was very nice thing that was evident, right? I mean, from the start. So here we see like another life form, but in much less life forms than, I mean, in another one, but not as many as I would have like assumed. But certainly there are life forms here. Yeah, so we see more life forms. Another one. And the Nero's. Very big life form, like a starship, like flying over a mountain. These might be parts of bigger life forms, but I cannot like. I can identify what is, if it is like a bigger one. So okay, more life forms and another big one. Okay, interesting. So I mean, okay, I mean, from my perspective, the important thing is that we definitely like. I mean, we saw in another very nice Nero. I cannot focus on it because it's in the edge of the slide, but it's very nice. It's got like, I mean, the starship, like the Stargate shape. So I mean, I cannot. I mean, it's important. I mean, it's nice that, I mean, that we've seen many Neros here. I mean, that's the important stuff from my perspective. I'm less, I mean, worried about life forms. But let's continue. So now we should take a look at the sediment slide. It's something new. I've never taken like this kind of sample. So you see, it's basically sand from the bottom, like of the bottom sediment. So the question is whether, I mean, Neros can and do live in like inside like in such material at all, which is basically sand and clay and pieces of clay, of wet clay, sand, wet clay and wet sand. So okay, immediately we see life forms, and even quite a bit. So this one is without a cover because it's pretty thick, and you can see that there are several layers, like, I mean, that you can focus on. So we see life forms. We don't really see Neros. So maybe they don't really like to hang out in this in the sand. It's like a cloud layer over like a terrain. Interesting. cloud. The idea of a cloud seed reminds me that, I mean, some people say that I'm, or suggest that I might be ripping off a little bit the TOS, like the original series episode of the city in the edge of the clouds, or the edge of something. So first of all, I've said that I would say that I already told you that I'm aware of this episode, and that I think it's kind of like, I mean, it's interesting from our perspective. But moreover, the important issue about my fairy tale is that it is true. But you will be the judge of the poetic merits. As I say, the most important thing is not to invent new plots or to surprise you with twists, but to convey truth. I'll see if I have the inclination and the mental energy to continue with the fourth chapter today, I mean. So this is not really a very interesting one. I would say that probably the answer to the question if, whether the Neros like to hang out in the sand is no. In the wet sand is no. Which should be, I mean, perhaps disappointing for those that went to the trash to take those like sand sediments that are now in the trash outside. But I'm sorry. Rescue me from the Nazi prison. That's, I mean, your best course of action. Okay, so this one was not interesting. Let's continue with an additional two from the waters. Should be more interesting. So this is, of course, a life form. This looks like a blocked Nero, like a Nero is a kind of like, these also look like blocked Neros, like these are Neros that block themselves. Okay, so now there is like more material, much more material, like, I mean, from the sample in this part of the slide. This looks like a twisted Nero, like Nero. I mean, it certainly looks like a Nero, and it's got like the Stargate properties, but it's not completely circle. But maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it not. It doesn't need to be. Let's zoom in a little bit to see how it looks like. It looks like a Nero, but I mean, and even like the Stargate Nero, but not completely circular, but. Maybe they don't need to be completely circular. So we see Neos and life forms, not terribly a lot, but we definitely will see some. This is a nice one. It's not the richest sample that I've ever seen, but it's not entirely poor, I would say. So this gun is completely twisted, but if it's a Neo, it's a huge one. It's certainly not. It's not circular, but I mean, it's kind of like look like, but I'm not sure. Not sure. This is certainly Nero and a very beautiful one. And you see the more smaller ones, bigger ones, all sort of like life forms. Not terribly lot, but we definitely will see them. I mean, yeah, in here we see even more. All sort of like life forms, Neos, nice. This looks like a bone or something, like a part of a bigger life form, but I'm not too sure what. And we see many Neros here. Nice. Let's zoom in. Very nice. Even more. I can't focus on the Neos now. Never mind, let's get back to 64. So nice Neos. This one is a very nice, okay, this is a very nice one actually. Okay, so that's it. Again, not terribly lot of life forms. Actually, much less than I assumed. Which means that, I mean, you can say that, I mean, that probably the containers, I mean, like these plastic boxes that were, I mean, were not the best place like for the creation of life forms, and we have all sort of like, I mean, ideas why we can speak about it. But let's continue with the evidence, and maybe we should speak about the analysis later, even though, because it's less of important. What's important for me is to see that actually the Neros are there, and they are there. I mean, it's like we have many, probably billions of Neros or trillions, I don't know, inside this metal container, which is great. And so there wasn't like a mass extinction can make for them, but we don't see as much life forms, and there can be all sorts of reasons. Maybe we'll speak about it later. Even though we do see life forms, but not as many, not big ones, only small ones, and not that many as you might expect. I mean, as we've seen in the past. We see smaller ones, Neos. We didn't see really big ones, but we see smaller ones, and we don't really see life forms again. This is kind of like, I mean, the same. It's consistent between the three slides that we do see Neos, smaller and bigger, from time to time bigger ones, but not many life forms. This is nice. This is certainly a life form, which is nice. Oh, this one is even not that, we don't see even much Neos here. So here we see another life forms. Okay, interesting, but not very rich in neither of those. You see the bricks. This looks like a Neo that is black from the other side, like a Stargate that is blocked from one side. Interesting. Okay, so that's it. This one was not actually very interesting. I don't know, maybe I'll take more samples of the same aquarium with more material because I'm not entirely satisfied with, with the samples. We see Neos, which is fine, but maybe you should have taken more samples and perhaps like with more material from like other like layers, because it's kind of like it wasn't very, I would say it wasn't very diverse. There wasn't that much diversity. The important thing, as I said, is that the robots are not dead; they are there, and now they will be. It's a different mode because it will be, intentionally without oxygen supply, and we'll see what happens. Of course, we should say that. We know. There are other metal containers that are much more. With much less liquid and much more beeswax. That and life is thriving in it, and maybe we'll actually like take samples later. But I've used it like in the past couple of days for as a fuel for the crucible. It was very interesting. Maybe I should take samples from these as well, like the others that are mostly bugs. And I need to, of course, I want to continue with the Starship, like to get the third one into action, and maybe I'll I'll have enough energy, like also to perhaps while I'm doing working on the sculptures, also to record the fourth chapter of the Three Sisters fairy tale. Let's see, I mean, what's up with the crucible? It's certainly hot, but I mean, does it burn? Just a second, let's take a look. Yes, it's still burning, even not that hot, but we see some fire, like some. Okay.